Pop in, say hi. If you've never come into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And here on Sunday nights, we have this live show that we do every Sunday. And we have been doing this. We have been doing this for a long time, ever since Cindy's been on social media. I think I think right after I started crashing, I would say about a year and a half into my urban explorations. If you haven't seen any of my other videos, I'm an urban explorer. I am an adventurer. I do lots of fun things in my life. I'm creating the best human being I possibly can, but at the same time, I'm having a good time. I'm having a good time doing it, right? And that's important too, right? Just to enjoy the ride. And so Sunday nights, we kind of hang out together. I have another show. It's a podcast that I do Monday to Friday, and it can get a little bit heavy. And I'm grateful that every once in a while you guys pop into that show. But I know it's different content than what's going on here on Sunday nights, and that's the way I want it to be, not to be heavy, right? It isn't that wind down going into my days off. It was challenging. A lot of it just worked out on its own. Other things is just a matter of me, right? Giving up the reins, giving the crown over, and just recognizing, it's not my show, right? It's not my show. And just enjoy the job because I enjoy the job, but at the same time, knowing that the job has got to get done. So there's a lot of that whistle while you work and a lot of interactions with my regular customers, right? It's in that problem solving. It's in those interactions with the shoplifters. I had two of them within 2 minutes of each other. I had just scooted one out the door and I was standing in the aisle and I was just standing there and I was watching another lady, one of my regulars, senior lady too, just stuffing her bag. And it breaks my heart to do that, but part of my job, part of that accountability and responsibility is to take care that there aren't shoplifters in the store, right? We take the knapsacks and we put them behind the counter. We make it fair for everybody. We take all of them, right? So there is no discrimination in that. But it is really tough. It kind of hurts my heart sometimes that happens, and especially when it is a thrift store, right? And those donations, and you can think that it's all free and it's all donated, right? But those donations are putting roofs over people's heads. Put a roof over my head, pulled me out of a very scary situation, and I'm grateful for that job. But there wouldn't be any job if there wasn't any, right? Right? So I get it. I do get it. And those are the kind of things that I reason with myself, right? When I come into those situations that, this isn't my call. This is my job. And even though I'm not like a security guard, right? And can't always predict from one moment to the next how somebody's going to react when you catch them, right? And believe me, I do not catch many. I could suspect and know, right? Say, oh, for sure. But right, if somebody wants something, they're just going to help themselves. Hello, Andrew. I hope your night is going well. I just sat down, made a cup of coffee, and yeah, I was looking forward to having a chit chat with everybody and start my days off on a good note. Not quite sure what my days off are going to look like or entail, but at the same time, right? happy to have a change, right? Have and that's right, have a change. And that's all it is because I do enjoy my job, right? I'm very appreciative of my job too, that it takes me away, like we were talking about that heavy stuff on my other podcast that Sunday nights here, right? We're friends and it's supposed to be light. How's your week been going, Andrew? How's your week been going? Tell you a little bit about mine, and I'll keep my eye up. Oh, there we go. Quick. He was probably halfway already writing by the time I had even said anything. Uh, Going well over here. I started another book downsize. Yesterday I gave away around 15 books I never read. You never even read, Andrew? Oh my goodness. Too much of a good thing. I put them in a little free library. Oh, that's amazing. And I know that you have good books, Andrew. I know the books that you put in the little library is going to be quite quality in the bindings and in the content of them. Yeah, it's nice. And that's all giving back, right? It's giving back to your neighborhood. It's giving back to yourself because like you said, you want to downsize and declutter. I did a little bit. I live in such a small place, right? The space that you see here is pretty much half of what my actual living space is. And I have a lot of stuff. I recognize I have a lot of stuff, and I do thin out and redonate because I do work in a thrift store, so I donate it to my stores. That so again we can put jobs over people's heads and give people who might not have an opportunity to better themselves in the workforce, whether it's financially or even emotionally, like I do it. I just do it for my own emotional well being because lots of times, right, we like the comfy, the couch and the remote control. And we have to be active. And unless we're able to keep ourselves active, not 24/7, but keep ourselves active, it's kind of like retirement. You know what I mean? That a lot of people lose that lust for life when they retire. That, a lot of people in Canada, they stay way past their 65 years in their workforce. And it's not always because they can't afford to retire, right? There is guaranteed income here in Canada. And it's not like you will live like a queen or a king, right? But your pensions will be enough to keep that roof over your head 100%. So, right, lots of things to be grateful. There are a lot of countries out there that don't even have, right, those kinds of even thoughts in their governments, let alone the actions. I'm not a big believer in beating down your leaders. I don't. No, I don't even when the bad guys, when they were like, and Owen would understand this as Hudan Hussein or whoever he was, and the whole world was against him. Even with myself, I never judged that because there's always two sides to every coin, and I understand majority rules, right? But I don't swing in those thoughts, in those beliefs, in those. I guess it's being the action of the student and the spectator in that. If it's not needed, why is it in my life, right? And I don't know where that came from, but let's see what Andrew's got to say here. It would have been years before I had read them, and there's too much stuff here. I've heard the term visual noise. I need less in my space, more peace. I get your feelings there. I get your feelings there, Andrew. Just with my air conditioner here, it takes a great deal of space. And the features of my home that are usually taking up that space are now taking up more of my space. So I feel that what do you call it? That agitation of tripping over things and maneuvering around my stuff and wishing I had a bigger place. Like even in my art taste, like you guys can't see my walls here, but I've got because I'm collecting things for my home that I hope that I would be able to retire in some kind of life lease or ownership of a little piece of property, maybe some land with rock crystals where I can have my own little business, rock shop and digs and right? Have little seminars and stuff and retreats going on at my amethyst mine or crystal mine. That's a lot of what I'm doing on this trip. It's just not a reward for myself. I'm letting that reward by doing my passions, my desires, and at least, in that attempt to make the best holiday for myself, stuff it with lots of amazing things, right? Understanding it may be a while after that because I'm believing that after my Arizona trip that I just might buckle down for a couple of years. Um, Part of this vacation holiday that I'm taking in the next couple is just to scope it out in these areas where I like to rock hound and be with Mother Nature and being, in cottage country and live that life. I feel, quite comfortable in Mother Nature and yeah, I know it's not healthy just to seclude myself, but it doesn't matter. Ontario is a very, very busy province. There are people everywhere and communities everywhere, and just to say, I'm just as much, even more of a city girl than I am a country girl. But because of that, right, that being an empath, being sensitive, that I like my alone time. I like my space to work and plan and learn and do the things that I love to do. Knowing that, I could have company. It would take a phone call or a conversation. I could have company in these outings that I do. Right. But these adventures, they're specifically created for me because it's what I need for myself to actually connect and not be distracted by what and who's around me. And it's not like like I said, Ontario is very, very busy, and I'm going into New York too, and that's going to be even busier. So it's not like I'm avoiding people or interaction, right? It's just that I want, if not equally, as much as I can, a little bit of space for myself in the surroundings that will cater to those interests of mine, right? I can't be doing trips around the world constantly to do these crystal digs and stuff. I'm going to do a couple because I'm called to do it, but I suspect if this is a passion of mine for the rest of my life, right? When I'm thinking about retirement, I want to retire in areas where I can just drive or walk, right? Or right, just have that environment in my environment. So, right, so we don't have a lot of crystals. We do have garnets here, but That's the thing. I'm going to Ontario, and one of those things I'm going to do is I'm going to be scoping out the areas that I'm driving through. Right, 14 days on the road, you guys. Right, my itinerary. I have been working out. I have been working on it. Oh, blank pages. I'm just showing you my blank pages, but but it's going to be an amazing trip. I'm writing all the mines. I think I'm visiting four different mines. No, three different mines and two rock cuts. That's where like they're testing the ground to see what kind of minerals and crystals and rock that the surface is made of and the underneath surface is made of. They're also the rock cuts are when they want to make roads and the highways and they have to go through the mountains and stuff. So they'll blow it all out. And at that point, sometimes, you can open up crevices and sometimes even in the granite and the rock, there's amazing opportunity to find minerals and crystals. So I want to do a few different things while I'm out there, and I want a variety of crystals, and I want to feel that abundance when I do that trip. When it comes to the different opportunities and the potentials of possibly having my own little bit of acreage that I could allow the public to come in and we can have, right, we can have retreats and we can have seminars and workshops, and we can dig for crystals on all my own land. And if it's unorganized land, I could build little cottages all over the place, like little guest house for everybody, right? I do. Right? These experiences in my life have created opportunities for me if I want them. I mean, I've done retail lumber a few times, right? I've worked for Home Depot, for Dermot Lumber, Munn and Yates, right? I have worked in retail lumber. And in that, I've learned to be creative in those crafty things, right? They called me a plumber lady. Yeah, no, the plumber fairy. That's what they called me, the plumber fairy. Sitting there, always on the intercom, they would always say plumber fairy to plumbing, right? And I go, oh gee, right? Because I was the only woman there that knew the plumbing. Like some of the guys knew the plumbing, but right, if they had customers and stuff, and I love sales. I love those interactions with people and those conversations with people, and right, and I don't know why so much, but it's just a natural interest in people, right? Sometimes it's just in that comparison, right? What do they have that I don't have? What makes them so different than me? How do they stay so skinny? Why are they so smart? What are their parents? And I do this. I do this. I do this fast. I'm just explaining what I'm doing. But it's almost instant when I'm doing it. It's just like, okay, this is what this person, and I do that naturally. They call it reading. They call it reading energy. I just recently heard that terminology. For me, I've always called it hypervigilance, right? And in hypervigilance, it's paying attention, but it's not like paying attention in class. It's right. It's not paying attention to direction at work. It's right. Hypervigilance it's its own it's its own beast, 100%, and it can be an annoyance. It could be frustrating. It can be frustrating because it can hold us back from job opportunities. It can hold us back from meeting people and having conversations and taking interest in people. right? I don't know. I do believe it's just in that practice and in that need to put a roof over my head and to make my own money, right? So that I could go off and buy all the great munchies that I love with the money that I earned, that nobody was going to take that away from me, right? I'll just go buy my own candy. I'll just go buy my own desserts, right? And that's the way I thought. I was working since I was 12 years old. I have been working. I've always been a hard worker, but I also understand, right? That flow of money, and sometimes we get attached, and sometimes that flow of money in our heads, it's a flow of money, but in comparison to something else, it's just a drop in the bucket, right? And it's all the way we perceive things. Okay, I'm coming back into the comments here. Andrew says, it would have been years before I read them, and there's too much stuff here. I've heard the term visual noise. I need less in my space, more peace. Andrew also says, I'm sure I would have enjoyed the books, but I have more than I can probably read in my lifetime. I'm something of a minimalist, but not the extreme kind. You can be a minimalist and have many things if those things make you happy. My surplus of books causes me to stress to so some have to go. That's amazing that you recognize that, Andrew, that you're able to self-evaluate and take action on that. I am not right. I get attached to my things. I love my things. I right there are things that are going to stay with me till the end. But if there was a fire and they were all destroyed in a heartbeat, then I would just start over, and those would just be stories of these magnificent pieces that I had. My sister came into my house. Oh, my folding table. I bought a new folding table and a couple of chairs, and because my sister took a name to it, right? I don't know why I'm making a big deal about it, because it's not. It truly isn't a big deal. But I like to rub it in, and well, no, I don't even like to rub it in, so I don't even know why I mention it, right? Maybe it's just to explain why, right? I divvied out on something that I didn't necessarily need, because I had a perfectly good table that worked absolutely fine, right? It could be my sister's new garage sale table. Um, yeah. So what was I saying about my folding table? I can't even remember. William's here. Howdy, William. Um, Hello, William. How did your week go? Did you have anything interesting, exciting, right? Did you have a good talk? Were you at the podium this week? And for those of you who pop in later or have never met William before, William is a pastor. So I'm just talking about, when he's up at the podium, and sometimes he gets these interesting topics. And this is something that he's growing into. And it's really wonderful to watch and listen to his interaction with his congregation, right, William? That's the word that I'm looking for, his congregation in his church. I'm not a religious person myself. I never went to church. Well, I did go to church. I went to Sunday school, I think, right until I was like 12 or 13 years old. For sure, I went to Sunday school. But a religion, when I was an adult, right? And it wasn't that I was an atheist or I didn't believe in God, right? I just didn't know who or what God was because there are so many different religions out there. And I could have been born Chinese, I could have been born Pakistani or Filipino, or I could have in so many different Russians, right? Right? That that I could have been any religion in my past life, and just because my mother was a Christian, that my mother believed in Jesus, right? She never baptized any of her kids, right? My parents had agreed that we were going to each to decide whether or not to be baptized. I've not been I've not been baptized, right? But I do believe that there is definitely a plan for us, that there is definitely something bigger out there that we don't quite understand. And I don't think we're meant to understand, but sometimes through circumstances, and I think we are dissipating in that. You know what I mean? That maybe 100 years ago or 200 years ago, maybe 1,000 years ago, maybe 10,000 years ago, this might have been even more pronounced when it comes to religion, right? You know how many they right, the Egyptians changed their gods, like they changed their underwear every time there was a pharaoh. There were more gods popping up, and there were more religions being wiped out and obliterated, right? That was properly pronounce that. And I'm not being argumentative of that because 100%, if right, if Jesus showed up standing in front of me, right, I'd have a different story playing out, right? I would have a different story playing out, and I guess I'd probably have to ask for forgiveness for not having more faith, right? But I am who I am. And I think in that genuineness of just being open, that what we think about is realized, and definitely Jesus was real, right? Because well, we think about Jesus, don't we? We think about the Bible, we think about God. And sometimes when we have these experiences in my right in my experience, when you first have these experience, I would think it would be very easy to just follow that majority, you know what I mean, to to be to be a Christian because it would be acceptable in the experience that we're having, to attribute it to right to something that possibly we don't quite believe in the moment. That could change at any moment. But that could also change into something else. And the next thing you know, I could be a Buddhist, or I could be a Hare Krishna, or I could be an alien, or I could be I'm not very good at this. Am I? I could There's so many things that I could probably be, because it does take all kinds to make the world, and I recognize that this world is full of all kinds. But do I have to personally recognize watching what each and every person is? Right? We're creating the best human beings we possibly can. So we get to hang out with others and learn from others and experience vicariously through others. And when I say that, you guys, so right, when William talks about his speeches, or his, what do you call that, sermons to his congregation, that we're actually interested in that, right? It's an experience in living vicariously through somebody else's experience, and it's good practice, even if, right, because that, if that's something unfamiliar for us, it makes it something that we can constantly do, just to wonder why somebody does something or says something, or, right, seeing their expressions or mannerisms, how they're feeling in the moment. And if you're really good, have a little bit of anticipation as to what the next moment is going to be like. And that's where that frustration and that comes with me, right? Because it isn't that hypervigilance that I'm just looking too far outside of myself in my hypervigilance. I like right now perfectly. I like that. And so I practice in, right, not thinking about things that I don't need to be thinking about, because I understand it's what comes across my path. And you guys, I have to be honest in saying, Jesus hasn't come across my path yet, right? But in the same thing as saying that, right? Other than those amazing people that, I have been following, because they have been offerings of knowledge, of a little bit of answering of some of those questions that I might have always been looking for answers for, right? It's a big world, and it takes all kinds to make that world, right? And I don't know everybody 100%. And that's okay. That's okay with me too. I think a big reason why I'm sitting here right now is because that I have had these experiences just with myself, right? Yeah. Okay. Um, Good evening. Hi, William. Hi, Andrew. Andrew says, I don't enjoy removing unread books, but once they are gone, I am okay too. Someone else may have a great time reading them. Yeah, I donate all my clothes, because all my clothes are items that I picked up thrifted at my work. Well, I don't just buy clothes at my work. You guys know me and my sister Alice. We like to go thrifting on Mondays, right? I don't know if we'll be doing it this week. She just got back from. She does a concert weekend where they go out to somebody's farm, and it's sponsored, and they raise money for cancer awareness. And yeah, everybody camps out there, but it's full of people who love music and playing bands and stuff. And my brother-in-law, he likes to play in the bands, and he's really good too. And yeah, he's really nice how he has that interaction with his audience. That way you can see how comfortable he really is. And if he's not comfortable, you wouldn't you wouldn't know it. But that just comes with practice, 100%. I'm sure if he didn't do, right, 500, 1,000 sets, that he wouldn't be as good as he is now. He likes the old time rock and roll, right? All that, like AC/DC and all that heavy. No, I'm not sure if you call it heavy metal. I guess maybe some of it you might, but he does like that hard rock and that soft rock, and he likes it all. Yeah. Um, but I agree with you. To let somebody else get that enjoyment out of the clothes that you donate, Andrew, or the books that you donate, the clothes that I donate. It's giving back, right? And it's an amazing way to give back. Like you done the little library when you stuffed all those books, 15 books. How did you manage to get 15 books into that little library? Was the little library already empty? Yeah, let me know. Let me know, Andrew. Yeah, 15 books, or maybe you're going to do it in a couple of trips. And then go back to the library and take a peek and see how long it takes for your books to uh, move on their way, right? That would be interesting to see who in your neighborhood has some of the same interests as you, Andrew. Maybe you're unique. Maybe those books will stay in there all year long, right? Some of us are unique. I'd like to think that I'm a unique. I'd like to think that most of us on my channel here are unique and have their lives arranged in a way that's comfortable for them, right? And I appreciate that you guys come in here and do a little bit of smiling on my live show, right? Light on me, and I appreciate that. And that all tallies up. It all tallies up. Okay, speaking of performers, Roseanne Cash will be performing here in Bloomington, sold out. Not well known, but she's terrific fiction writer. I read her short story collection. Oh my goodness. You had me going there, Andrew. I was thinking Roseanne Cash, Johnny Cash's wife? She's still alive? And I'm thinking, what? What? How did I get my world so jumbled here? Well, I'm just about to get schooled by Andrew, and then I read further, and you're talking about somebody else. I'm sure you're talking about somebody else. But then, what's Johnny Cash's wife's name? Roseanne? Yeah, Roseanne Cash. I don't know. Curious why I made that mistake in automatically assuming when I read her name that it was Johnny Cash's wife. Most of the books I donated are paperback. Oh, Roseanne Cash is Johnny Cash's daughter, and she's a writer. She's a writer, Andrew. And what? And how is she going to perform? Is she going to read one of her writings? School us, Andrew. This is Andrew, everybody. He is, well, I have a couple of researchers on here. Nancy does a lot of research for me too. And they're just so smart. Half the time they don't even have to research the answers in their head right off the hop. Oh, she's a singer. Are you going to go, Andrew? Are you going to go to see her? Do you do outings like that? I do a lot of work with my community, right? They're not clients, but I understand that there are people who are coming across my path that are going and having experiences, though not the same as me, but in a similar route. And me, because I am untangling wires, that some of that give back, that light that I put out to the world, right, is in those interactions that I have in the everyday, day to day. And I encourage people all the time to get out there, to adventure, to do things by themselves. And when that evidence comes back that they're taking some of that advice and they're enjoying it, right? In that moment that they're doing it, that they're actually enjoying it, that's amazing, because in that moment you could be sitting on at the window staring at the space all miserable, right? All woolsy me. But instead, you took the action, right? So I was wondering if you like to adventure on your own, Andrew. Like Nancy. Nancy's paralyzed in a chair, and Nancy's an adventurer. She's out all the time. She loves the city that she lives in, even though she is a critic of the city she loves in. It's tough love, and it is that light's responsibility to shine on whatever is not working out well, right? What those problems are. I think that was a big part of what got me into a lot of trouble with my mother was because she knew I knew she knew. Right? And that must have been difficult for her. And I used to think that my father was sending me away for my benefit because he used to send me to my aunts in the out in the wilderness every Christmas holidays, spring break, summer holidays. I would be out there on my aunt and uncle's trap line. My parents would send me there. But I always thought because my dad knew that I was having a difficult time with my mother, that he thought it was a good way to change the energy, right, for myself. And in reality, I think probably my mother needed that break as much as I did too. I only recognize that now as a mature adult and going back into those stories because when you're divvying out the wrongs, right, in someone's life, in somebody's movement, you have to recognize the good too and the things that are getting right, and it is sometimes that uneven balance because in somebody's eyes it can be balanced, but right, being highly sensitive, right, being empathic, and it's not like we're special needs, but all different groups go about their movement differently, right? Work a little bit differently, feel a little bit differently, believe a little bit differently, right? And because I go with the majority, it's really hard sometimes, right, to be that individual. But I try. I try. And I think we are meant to try. I really do. I really do. I don't think we are meant to wake up to some of these conversations in the moment. I'm optimistic that they will be beneficial for somebody somewheres down the road, right? That Google and YouTube, when Cindy's long gone, that they'll be able to pick me up in this digital age wherever I pop up because I understand, right? This are the programming in me. This isn't the repetitiveness. This is right. This is social media. This is communication. This is working in emotions and understanding narcissism and codependency and coercive behaviors and limiting beliefs, mindsets, like, right, and each one of us, it's in that preparation. This is what I believe, and maybe there are lessons in that, right, but maybe because I don't feel that I would be welcome into that group, that, right, the Jesus Club, right, that I might not be welcome there because I kind of move a little bit differently, right? Kind of feel a little bit differently. And it's important for me to really feel in what I'm doing. 100%. Okay. Gonna have a sip of my coffee here. I made a big cup of coffee. Oh my goodness. Going into days off now. I'm good with that. We've got a couple of hot days. I'm just testing out the air conditioner, right? Get that um, dehumidity dehumidifier. Get the dehumidifier, getting the moisture out of my apartment before that humidity picks up with the heat tomorrow, and I end up having issues with the water, right? Because right, this air conditioner that I had was in those days when we were really pushing about saving the world and do not litter, right? In the 70s, like that. And this air conditioner was environmentally built to not contribute to the deterioration. Don't laugh. Of our ozone layer, right? Our ozone layer, you guys, is healing. We have not heard anything about our ozone layer for so long, but it has been healing itself from some of those conversations that I have been walking into and picking up these little tidbits along the way. Maybe Andrew's heard something more than what I've heard on that. I found it interesting, and I did mean to go back into the topic, but sometimes these things they come across your mind, and you go, "Oh my goodness, really? Oh, I got to check that out." And then you go, "Oh my goodness, chocolate ice cream." And that thought never appears again. Or if it does, because sometimes it does in that patterning, in that repeat, right? Maybe a ways down the road that you recognize it again, right? So that's why I have my notebooks here all the time, so that when these ideas hit me, that I start making my notes right off the hop. I start making my notes, and and when I have it written down, even the topic, if I just have the topic, I'll remember. I just need my noggin to be kind of jiggled around a little bit, right? Right? It's like kicking the car when it doesn't start, or kicking the tire. Is that the idea? Kicking the tire when it doesn't start, the engine starts up. I don't know, whatever it was. June Carter. Oh, that was her name. Oh, well, isn't that interesting, Andrew? Right? Different genres, even. But I believe in mixing your talents. So if she's a writer, right? And she's a singer, right? Maybe she's acting too, you said. Oh, and you said she was a teacher, right? That's multi-talented. And at the same time, each one of them is so different from the other that it offers up its own experiences, right? More expertise and more opportunity to be able to get yourself in a conversation. We were talking about this a little bit in my podcast yesterday, right? We were talking a little bit about that, and yeah. I said I wasn't going to go heavy today. I don't want to. I don't want to bring my podcast into my Sundays, except to say it was a good work. We did our 51st word, so we have 3 more weeks, you guys. 3 more powerful words. Then I will have 1 week to get ready for my trip, and I'll probably only go live maybe a couple of times during that week, and then I might start moving into my Instagram a little bit, right, and letting them know that this trip is coming up, because I tend to be able to, at the very least, get some of my landscapes. And I suspect it's going to be pretty amazing landscapes, even my campsites, you guys. And because I'm a contributor on Google Maps, and I was bragging, and it was bragging, you guys, because I'm a little bit embarrassed to say this. I was bragging because I was only 30,000, and then 2 weeks ago it was 5,000 away from 1 billion, 1 billion views as Google Maps. They call them Google Guides, right? So we contribute in reviews when I go on my trips. I'm the one who's taking pictures of the store. So when you're going to find um, um, like Google Maps to where you want to go. If you're going somewheres where I've been and I've taken a picture, you'll be able in Street View to see the picture that I took. So, and I do reviews of restaurants. Um, I do reviews of companies. So, like, I will actually compliment or give criticism, and I don't normally criticize, right? I do take note of shortcomings, but shortcomings are not criticisms, even though people can take them as criticisms. That's why we say, right? People, they get triggered by such small things that don't have any intent in them. It's only because somebody has made a misstep in the conversation, swayed and said a sentence improperly. I do it all the time, right? And it happens, and sometimes we have to use our own uh, I lost track because my message just went off. I'm just going to take a quick look at my messages here, just because it might be Nancy or it might be the gentleman who's come to pick up a painting. Um, uh, yeah, I won't get back to him because this is somebody else and I've already sold it, so it's all good. Yeah, so it was pretty neat how that happened because on my trip, I'm off a little bit everywhere, as you guys. It's the end of my work week. I'm spinning off a little bit. I hope you don't mind. I'm paying attention in the comments, and I appreciate your company, right? As I spew my unwind. But it was a really good week for me. But what I was going to say on that was nothing. Right? When that thought comes to you, when you're in that flow, you have to keep going in that, because if you don't keep going in that and you have 1 second of a stall, right? Then Cindy pops in and has to entertain you. And that's what distracted me, was that message. And I usually will just turn the sound off on my phone when I do my lives, but I am expecting somebody to pop by my place so I can run downstairs and give him his new painting. It was this one, you guys. Do you remember this one? This is a gallery showing piece. This is a piece of Inuit art. This was one of my very first good scores. I loved it. It looked amazing on my wall. But as you can see, you guys, I love the landscapes. And it's not part of my Mother Nature wall. If it was wood, if it was right, it had more Mother Nature in it. It could stay, but it doesn't have that. So I was going to donate it to my work. If my sisters didn't want it, because I didn't, I've had it up before. I put it up before, and nobody was interested. And I thought, well, maybe I'll give it one more try. Right, Cindy, you were so good. Oh, that's what I was going to talk about. This trip, I'm trying to be really good on my budget, in paying my bills, in making lists of the things that I need in order to have the most magnificent trip that I possibly can. I have actually every day put away time in taking notes of different not mines we're going to do. Three mines and two quarries or road cuts, and for different things, titanite and garnet. We're going to go into the States and do Herkimer diamonds. Uh, I'm covering absolutely everything. I hope I will have enough time. I'm sure I am. But every day I am working on this. I'm going, like, I start off with my first site, and then I say, the day that I booked that spot, the spot that I have, right? The camping spot that I have. And hi, if you've never met me before, I'm going on a trip next month. We are doing 11 different provincial parks, and we are crossing the border to Herkimer, New York. And I am going to be spending 2 days digging for Herkimer diamonds. It's going to be lots of fun. But I have the kilometers, the distance from my destination, from the site that I left. So the first spot from my home, right? Um, I have the information on the site, whether it was an electrical site. I think I have one or two on this trip, electrical sites. I don't really need the electrical, I don't think. I didn't really need it the last time I went, because I'm on the road so much that everything is easily charged along the way. But it was the sights. They were pretty spots, and I wanted them. So I took them, right? This is my holiday, and I'm creating the best holiday that Cindy would, I think, really, really enjoy. And it's even more amazing already than I thought that it possibly could be. Everything is falling into place amazingly, and it was just even perfect timing in getting this book ready, because this book here will actually be on the passenger seat on my trip, because when I'm in one spot I can say, oh well, how many kilometers till I get here? It's right there. When will I get there? On the bottom, if the next day I'm seeing visiting a mine, or if I'm going to be digging in the afternoon, I have to make allowance for that. So I make notes as, oh, short trail in this park, or go for a beach walk, or just get up and have breakfast and get on the road, because it's a driving day. The first 3 days on the road are basically driving days in order to get me into the area that I want to be in. But I won't also, at the same time, I'm going to be making, this is my holidays. I'll be stopping, and I'll be making videos and having adventures, and possibly exploring abandoned. I'm going on some really rural roads with a lot of gold and silver mines, you guys. So, yeah, I'll be careful 100%. But I talk about, the kind of forests that we're in, how many beaches these provincial parks, the information on the parks, little bit of information. I have the footage of each campsite, if it's a 15 by 40 foot camp spot. I write that down. I write whether it's an electrical or non-electrical. I write down whether it has a comfort station. A comfort station is flushable toilets and showers. Not all provincial parks have them, um, but I write that information down so I can kind of make arrangements and have an idea whether, okay, we're going to do 1 hour less of rock hounding today. We're going to stick on the road. We're going to get to the park. And tonight's going to be a laundry night, because I suspect, being on the road for 2 weeks, that I will have one laundry day for sure. So I have to make sure that I have those undies and tundies, because it was very embarrassing when I didn't have them last time. I had all my laundry and soap and everything, and I couldn't do my laundry because I had no coins. And the lady kindly gave me a couple of coins, and I started my machine, and I went to give her some change. She says, "Oh no, I got it," and she ran off to get some coin. And when she came back, she only had enough coin for herself. And I went, "Oh my goodness!" So I ran to the station, and the station had already closed, so I wasn't able to get loonies. But the guy dug in his pockets and he found me some loonies, so I was able to do my laundry. So I want to make sure that I don't run into those situations. But I put all kinds of information in these ones. Also, I've also added the mines, the different mines that I'm going to, how long I could spend at these rock hounding sites, and picking the best choices, because there's so many places that I could be going rock hounding, that I want to make sure that that time is allotted to the right places. And if it's sparse and if I'm not having a good time, I can't imagine me not having a good time, because if I just find one rock, and it could just be a rock. If there's a forest, if there's some dirt, there's a little hill, if there's some rotting leaves, if there's some smell of rotting mushrooms, right? If there's chance to get a wild animal on video, right? I'm out for the good time. There is no, right? It's a rock hounding trip, but it's just something that I'm adding to the mix, right? It's also a camping trip. It's also a road trip, right? It's um, I'm crossing into the border over, and I'm going to the States, right? There's so many experiences, and I'm letting that reward that I'm creating for myself reward all the way around, because when I get home, I'm going to have so much footage, right? This time I'm looking forward to editing, only because I know how easy it was, right? Once I started making the videos, the first couple of times it was frustrating, especially when I thought I blew up my computer. Remember that? My new laptop? And I have to get a new computer when I get home. So there are a few things that will be added to my goal list when I get home. I'll be starting to work on those right away. Plus, a couple of things that are on my goal list will have to be added to the top of next year's goal list. We know Cindy's fiscal year starts in September after my holiday, right? This September holiday is going to be going on for my entire life, right? I love fall. I love the colors. I love that there's no bugs and mosquitoes and ticks. I love the smell, right? Those colors are so amazing. Up in the mountains, and everything goes sparse, and you can walk right into a forest, right? In the middle of the summer, you can't do that because there's just so much bush, right? Lots of water, lots of lakes. I haven't been able to get to the lakes. I haven't even been able to, well, I have been able to, but I haven't gone. I prioritized differently in going for those walks and going down to the river. I'm going to make sure on this set of days off that I go for a walk. I'm ready. I'm ready to go for a walk. Right? Yeah. Just have a little outing. It doesn't even have to really do anything. Maybe I'll just hop on a bus and, right, just see where this bus takes me, and then just jump off and just walk the area. Right? That sounds like fun. I've done that before. It is lots of fun. The last time I did it, I got really, really lost. I got really lost. And I walked a long ways. That was some good exercise. But yes, ready for I'm ready for some exercise. Oh, Andrew, you remember that painting, right? That was a great score. That artist who made that painting is a gallery showing artist, and it took a little while for me to track him down, but I found his work in the galleries, and right, and I loved the piece. And if I had to buy that piece new, I would never have been able to afford it, right? So, and I could have saved for it, like I saved for my trip, but I wouldn't have, because, well, that meaning, I guess the reason why I'm sending it on the way, that meaning is not reaching me anymore. I actually have another picture I want to put on the wall. I'm not sure if I showed you guys this. Oh, I did in my show and tell. I did my new group of seven picture. I absolutely just love it. Oh yeah, it's over. It's over there. Oh, my chest is just itchy tonight. I have no idea. It's never itchy like that. And I find myself, I just keep scratching. It could have been the laundry detergent in my blouse. Who knows? I am grateful to be home. Grateful for my days off. Right. And I'm grateful that I get to start my days off with Chatters Live and being with you guys, right? It's yeah, it's a great way to get back into because that's what I'll do. And I will. I'm going for a walk. I'm going to be connecting with Mother Nature. I will be working on my trip because that you guys, that's 5 weeks away, right? That's five weeks away we're going. Oh my goodness. Right? But keep myself busy so I don't think about the trip ups and the possibility of failures or anything else that might decide to throw its wrench into my engine. And so, right, we're going to be meticulous in this. Doesn't mean it's going to work out 100%, right? If I miss getting to one park, I lose that camping spot, right? That's like $50. That's like $50 a day, just throwing it away. And I'll more importantly, I'm going to miss that experience at the very least, walking on the lakefront or on the beach or going for a walk on a trail or talking to the ladies at the ranger station. Right, I like doing that too. I like going in because they always have a Keurig machine, and I like to go in and make myself a cup of coffee. It makes me feel like I'm going to the coffee shop. You guys, my coffees are pretty much going to be free on my trip. I'm just racking up points and I turn my points redeem off. And yeah, I'm adding it up. I have at least I think a coffee every single day going to be going to be free already. So now we can do a morning cup of coffee and an evening cup of coffee. I don't know if I need all that, but maybe I'll pick up a salad or a sandwich or right, a breakfast sandwich or a donut or something. I don't know. I'm on holiday. A lot of it will be just spontaneous, right? With a rough I'm going to try and be as thorough as I can. In this book, you guys, don't think I'm silly too, but I have it all categorized, and each trip has a few pages. Like this is one trip that I'm doing. I'll just cover the date on that, where I'll be visiting a place called Martin Lake, and you can kind of see what I'm doing there, right? And then on the next page, I'm talking about the different mines that I want to visit and the distance between each mine so I can take travel into consideration so that I have amount of time that will be able that to do all these things, right? Making sure that I'm only staying in a place that I'm being successful at finding things or really enjoying just sitting there staring off into space. Who knows? Like I said, loose, loose agenda. But on top of that, like this has three pages, 4 pages if you count the other side of the page, right? I want to staple a map of the areas of and then have them highlighted to from one mine to the next so that I'm not while I'm driving being on Google Maps that I'll be able to just look at my map when I having a cup of coffee in the morning and I can see my road route and adjust my itinerary if I want to or if I need to, right? And that information is just in this book. I suspect when I get home, I'll show it to you guys. I'll do a before and after, right? We'll take a picture. We'll take a before picture and then we'll take an after picture. And I suspect that this will be pretty ratty. Um, there we go. I suspect that this will be a pretty ratty book by the time I get home from my trip, right? But I'm going to get lots of use out of it. And maybe put a few of nice restaurants with directions to the restaurants. Um, in these pages. I even put the distance from my provincial park to the nearest Tim Hortons for a cup of coffee. I am a morning cup of coffee girl. I do say that. And, I'm grateful that I have a job that allows me to have a cup of coffee with me at my workstation, whatever station that I'm working in, right now I'm working the floor as we're training to get people ready to go. um, and it's good for me, and I'm enjoying being on the floor and doing different things. But I haven't been doing that for a long time because I'm the money girl, right? I'm there greeting my regulars. I'm wheeling and dealing and selling furniture and making money, right? It's what I like to do. I like to be up and be the front girl up front. But because that staff isn't on the floor, right, and we got somebody ready for the front, well, I'm giving that front to somebody else, so that because the job needs to get done, right, I don't have much of a choice. I've got to do it, or that store will be a pigsty, and that wouldn't be that wouldn't be right with me, right? Because I want that place to be beautiful at the end of every shift. I want that place to be beautiful so that the manager can start their week off, right? I'm grateful for my week to be over now, but because my week is over now, right? The manager's week is starting now, and I'd like her to start her week, if not smile on her face, at the very least not a whole bunch of problems to have to deal with and a lot of huff and puffs as to why things didn't get done. It's part of my pride, right? It's part of that ego part of me, and it's not to serve me. And I do believe it does serve in the end. It's only a gain in my hypervigilance. And I'm hypervigilance in the job that I do. I pride myself in being that employee that I would want for myself. I couldn't think of anything anything better. And if you think that way, that's pretty awesome, right? We need more people like that. And I know you guys are people like that. 100%. Okay. Um oh, you don't like to go to theaters and such. I haven't been to a theater in a long time, Andrew. Um when's the last time I went to the theater? Oh my goodness. Oh, I know when. We all went as a family, like me and my sisters and my nieces. We went to go see Witches. I think it was called Witches. It was a Broadway show at the what do you call that? Well, the theater, I guess, right? It was a Broadway show that rolled into town, and we do have those big theaters, big venues to support those shows. And yeah, that was the last time I went to the theater. Last time I went to the movie was, I think it was the last sequel to The Hobbit. No, the last sequel to Lord of the. It's been a long time since I've been to a movie too. It's been a long time. My tastes have changed. Those things, I'm not so much wanting to be entertained anymore. That's the truth. I don't want to be a student, and I don't want to be a spectator. It is happening out of necessity, right? Sometimes that necessity is in our own minds and in our own limiting beliefs, right? But yeah, I just kind of like to just keep going. It makes me happy. Okay, let's come down here. Oh my goodness, we're shooting off that hour pretty fast. It just seemed like we just came on live. There was no Nancy tonight. I'm sure she's working on those mountains on her train set. You guys should go and check her out and see what she's doing over there. And yeah, she's super creative that way. And it's amazing how she entertains herself, right? Makes herself her own best friend and finds ways to, right, make a little bit of a life for herself. Yeah, it's quite admirable because there are lots of people in Nancy's situation who, right, couldn't even be bothered to try. And right, Nancy's rocking the show 100%. Yeah, so I was really happy that I sold that Inuit painting because I have been paying my bills, and I needed a bus pass, but because if I bought my bus pass I wouldn't have any money for 2 weeks, right? And I said, "Oh my goodness, like do you just want to pay a few dollars, right, for the bus and just manage without the bus pass?" And I said, "No, that'll be frustrating. And it'll be scary if I don't have money and then I have to, right, ask people to give me bus fare." I said, "I don't want to be doing that." I said, "Cindy, go buy your bus pass. Go pay your house bills. Pay everything, right? Every single cent from your check, right? You'll be able to manage." Right away, I went into panic mode, right? But it was kind of needless because I'm already at the end of the first week, further into the end of the week. I got like 5 days to go until it's payday, and I was doing it without missing a heartbeat. I even had my coffees because I left a couple dollars in there to make sure that I had my coffees for this weekend, and so my week has gone so well, and just everything just falling into place just so perfectly that way, right? And then selling the painting, right? Because I said something would come along, pay everything off. You're not going to have any money. It's not going to be the first time you haven't had any money, Cindy, right? And if you're running short, something will come along. And sure enough, I got a message, right? Still got your painting? Yes, I do. And he paid me right away. Right after work, I just hopped on the bus, and instead of getting off at my bus stop, I just went straight to the grocery store. I grabbed what I needed, right? Came home, made myself a cup of coffee, hit that live button, right? And perfectly content, perfectly happy for whatever happens on my days off. And of course, I spent all that money, right? I spent it. It's all, wow, maybe I saved $5 for a loaf of bread or something, or a quart of milk if I should eat milk for my coffee or something. But yeah, yeah, I'm perfectly good and I trust, right? I'm not going to be juggling things anymore. I'm right. I'm going to just get things done. I've always kind of toot my own horn about doing things on my own, right? Being my own best friend, being right. And then last week I was talking about, just trusting in those lessons for myself that I come into these live shows, and I can watch them over for myself and get the most amazing bits of insight that I don't pick up myself just in my regular conversations, right? I don't know why, but I need my live shows for myself, and I go in there and I take my lessons. What's my good cheer? I watch every single live. I do. And it is in that practice that we do get better, but also at the same time I like an opportunity to course correct or apologize or over explain, right? So I come in and I don't criticize myself, right? I take it in, and for the most part I'm good. I'm good with what's going on out there, but a few times I'm just like, "Cindy, what did you say there? What?" Right? And that's what I think is so amazing. Okay. Yeah, that was interesting. You got me there when you said Roseanne Cash, right? Yeah, and I went, oh my goodness, and it put me for a little loop. Do you remember that song, Andrew? His last song that he did, "Hurt." Oh my goodness, what a deep, heavy, impactful song that was. It just hit home, I think, with every artist out there. And I think it hit home for anybody who is truly in love with the artist Johnny Cash, right? When he did that song Hurt. It was different from what he usually did, but at the same time, it wasn't. But yeah, let me know if you've heard that song Hurt by, was it Hurt? I think it was called Hurt. Yeah, by Johnny Cash. And yeah, that'd be interesting if you haven't heard that song. I would just punch it into YouTube and let them pull up the video for you so that you can watch it. It was right and see if you felt the same way or if you caught a difference in the message. Lots of people, they read in the content differently from each other, and so in having these discussions and these interactions and the different perspectives, we get to have an opportunity to have a different idea, a different truth kind of sprout out. And it's happened to me so many times, it make your head spin. I couldn't even tell you how many times. Yeah. Well, that was so amazing, you guys, that you popped into my live show. We do these live shows every Sunday night. My hopes is that as people get to know me, as they get to join in or listen in or read in on the conversations of our live shows. Hello, Nancy, as they come in, that you get to have a feel, because I suspect that, right, you have a little bit of sensitivity and a little bit of hypervigilance yourself, and you can read a good read, right, just as well as anybody who hangs out with me can, that I suspect, right? We're not always meant to wake up to some of these ideas, but sometimes when we do, it's beneficial to kind of move with people who aren't exactly the same, right? But in their uniqueness and understanding it takes all kinds to make the world, that we can kind of hang out together and appreciate each other's kindnesses because, right, we all kind of move with the same values here, right? And you'll get to notice that in the patterning too. And we have all different, none of us are the same. We are so different from each other, but we are loving on each other in this live show every single Sunday, and that's what this live show has, is that community that I'm super grateful. So it is my wish for everybody to join in on that conversation if they so choose to wish, right? They want to. You could tell that these guys are absolutely amazing. I have a lot of moderators here, right? But they're here all the time, right? Right? I can't even remember the last time Andrew missed a live show. And that, and he knows if he missed a live show, I would notice, but I wouldn't think anything less because of it, right? You guys pop in when you can pop in, say hi when you're comfortable to come in and say hi, right? In the meantime, just sit back and listen to the conversation, feel me out, feel the guys and the girls out here because I have lots of female moderators on this live show too, right? And like I said, when you're comfortable, pop into the comments, say hi, introduce yourself, right? Everybody, have a great night, and we'll see you next week.